Getting started is simple. Create your Sandbox account, verify your email address, and log in to access your Sandbox environment. Once activated, you'll gain access to a controlled testing environment designed to help you validate payment workflows before production deployment. The Sandbox dashboard provides a central workspace for exploring payment workflows and monitoring transaction activity. From here, teams can begin validating integrations and understanding workflow behavior before moving to production. Every payment workflow begins with a transaction request. The workflow begins when a transaction request is submitted to the system, initiating the payment process and creating the foundation for subsequent processing and status tracking. Once the request is validated, a transaction record is successfully created, enabling teams to monitor and manage the transaction throughout its lifecycle. The transaction then moves into the processing stage, where requests are evaluated and routed through the appropriate workflow before a final outcome is determined. Throughout the transaction lifecycle, status updates provide visibility into progress, allowing systems to track changes and respond appropriately at each stage. Once processing is complete, the transaction reaches a successful state. By validating the complete journey, from initiation to completion, teams can build confidence in their integrations and reduce production risk before going live. Not every payout reaches a successful state. In real-world payment systems, transactions can fail for a variety of reasons, including invalid beneficiary details, bank-side validation failures, or operational constraints. Your integration should always be prepared to handle failed outcomes gracefully, instead of assuming every request succeeds. Here, we're intentionally submitting an invalid request to simulate a common integration issue. This allows developers to verify how their applications respond when required parameters are missing, incorrectly formatted, or fail validation checks. Testing these scenarios early helps reduce debugging effort during production deployment. Different errors require different responses. A failed payout should not always trigger the same action. Some errors may require user intervention, while others may need operational escalation or automated retries. By handling errors based on specific error codes, teams can build more resilient and reliable payment workflows. Not every transaction immediately reaches a final outcome. Some transactions may remain in intermediate states while processing continues in the background. Applications should be designed to handle status changes correctly and avoid making decisions based solely on initial responses. Monitoring status updates and waiting for final transaction outcomes helps ensure accurate reconciliation and workflow management. Every transaction moves through a lifecycle. Monitoring status updates helps teams understand where a transaction currently sits and ensures workflows respond appropriately as states change. Not every transaction reaches a final outcome immediately. Some updates may take longer to process, making it important to account for delayed responses during integration testing. Webhook events provide real-time visibility into transaction activity. Validating event processing helps ensure systems stay synchronized as transaction statuses evolve. The final status represents the completed transaction outcome. By testing status visibility and event-driven updates, teams can build more reliable integrations before production deployment. By validating workflows in a controlled environment, teams can gain greater visibility into how their integrations behave before production deployment. From successful transactions to edge case scenarios, Sandbox testing helps developers identify issues early and improve deployment confidence. The final status represents the completed outcome of a transaction and serves as the definitive source of truth for your application. While transactions may pass through multiple intermediate states during processing, production systems should always rely on the final status before triggering business actions such as order fulfillment, reconciliation, settlement confirmation, or customer notifications. By validating status visibility, webhook events, and transaction updates during testing, teams can ensure their systems respond accurately to real-world transaction outcomes. This helps reduce operational uncertainty, improves reconciliation accuracy, and builds confidence that payment workflows will behave as expected when moved into production.